morning, everyone. This hearing is now called to order. Will members and guests please take their seat? I'm Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, Chairman of the Rules Committee. Today is Monday, May the 22nd of 2023. I recognize the presence of a quorum of the committee members, and I would like to say for the record today, Council President has appointed Councilwoman Jamie Gaudier and Councilwoman Ketsi Lozada for a quorum for the purposes of this committee hearing. This public hearing of the Committee on Rules, the purpose of this public hearing is to hear testimony on bills number 230-276, 230-302, 230-308, 230-318, 230-319, 230-322, and 230-323. Will the clerk please read the title of the bill?
Bill number 230-276, a bill to approve a major amendment to the Holy Family University Master Plan related to the Welcome Center and an athletic field structures in the area bounded by Grant Avenue, Frankford Avenue, Carteret Drive, St. Denis Drive, and the Poquessing Creek and the Delaware Expressway, and to consolidate previously approved minor amendments in the same area.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the first witness to testify on the bill?
We have Paula Brumblow-Burns.
Good to see you in person.
Good morning. Good to see everybody in person.
Just state your name and title for the record, and please begin your testimony.
Good morning, members of the Rules Committee. I am Paula Brumblow-Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 230-276, introduced into City Council on April 13th, 2023, by Councilmember Driscoll. Bill number 230-276 amends the Holy Family University Master Plan related to the Welcome Center and athletic field structure in an area bounded by Grant Avenue, Frankford Avenue, Carteret Drive, St. Denis Drive, Poquessing Creek, and the Delaware Expressway. This bill will allow for the proposed 12,000 square foot Welcome Center, will add 15,000 square feet of floor area for a bridge connecting campus buildings, and the proposed 5,000 square foot structure that will serve as an athletic field structure. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230-276 at its meeting on May 18th, 2023, and recommended the bill for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time, and additionally, somebody from the university is here.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, is anyone else here to testify on this bill? Hearing none, thank you very much. Will the clerk please read the title of the next bill?
For our next bill, we have 230-308. Bill number 230-308 is amending section 14-502 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Center City Overlay District by amending the South Street Head House Square area, all under certain terms and conditions.
Paul, is that the bill you have in front of you? Because I have 230-318.
I have every bill in front of me, but on the agenda I have 318 next.
318 next, correct?
We have a witness for 318 that is not yet here, so we are
Okay.
moving on to
Wanna move
308
on?
if that is all right with everyone.
Thank you very much. Will you please proceed with the title and your testimony?
All right. Good morning, members of the Rules Committee. I am Paula Brumblow-Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 230-308, introduced into City Council on April 20th, 2023, by Councilmember Squilla. Bill number 230-308 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code Section 14-502 entitled CTR, Center City Overlay District, by making changes to the allowed uses in the South Street Head House Square area. This bill prohibits the use of smoking lounges under eating and drinking establishments with the overlay area that runs along South Street, east of Broad, and the Head House Square area. A smoking lounge is defined as an eating and drinking establishment where the smoking of tobacco products, electronic cigarettes, or other substance is permitted. Examples of smoking lounges include, but are not limited to, cigar lounges, hookah lounges, vape lounges, and tobacco clubs and bars. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230308 at its meeting on May 18, 2023, and recommended the bill not be approved. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call the next individual who's going to testify on this bill?
Next for this bill, we have Kate Allen.
Good morning. Members of the committee, my name is Kate Allen, and I'm president of the Queen Village Neighbors Association. Thank you for providing me the opportunity this morning to discuss Bill 230308 to amend the South Street overlay to prohibit smoking lounges within the South Street Head House District. It's important to note that I'm here also representing 3 other organizations: Society Hill Civic, Bella Vista Neighbors, and the South Street Head House District, who are all united in requesting this change. The South Street Head House District exists within 3 residential neighborhoods: Queen Village, Society Hill, and Bella Vista. Though most of its businesses are patroned by visitors from outside these 3 communities. Recently, my board adopted a position statement about South Street calling for a balance between considerations made for tourists, which are so critical to an economy, as well as considerations made for nearby residents, most of whom avoid prolonged periods on our main commercial corridor. The most often cited reason for this is the proliferation of a few specific business types, primarily smoking lounges, of which there are currently several operating within the district. If we're including any business that routinely allows and advertises smoking, legally or illegally, they are Mirage at 119 South Street, LA Lounge at 148 South, Fez at 620 South 2nd Street, His and Hers at 216 South Street, Cilantro at 613 South 4th Street, SJ Cigars at 534 South 3rd Street, Leolina's Hookah Lounge at 520 South, Cleopatra's at 742 South. That does not include the several others that recently just closed: 5 Flavors Cafe at 431 South, IXL at 534 South 4th Street, Lost and Found at 328 South Street, and Stoned Pizza at 502 Bainbridge. For anyone counting, that makes 12. And we just learned that yet another establishment just opened up on South Street that is advertising a smokers club. None of that includes the additional 14 smoke and drug paraphernalia shops within the district. Not only have surveys among other proprietors on South Street show that they don't want any more smoking lounges in the district, this oversaturation of these particular businesses do not serve the needs of the surrounding communities. As a result, they take away a space for a business that could serve everyone, like a restaurant. I've been advised by multiple restaurateurs that they would not choose to open a restaurant in this climate on South Street, instead opting for other commercial districts like Old City and East Passyunk. One stated reason being, quote, "I would not want to risk opening up a space next to a smoking lounge." Making this change in the overlay would provide an opportunity for residents to have a seat at the table regarding what businesses can open in their neighborhood. It would also provide an opportunity for protections against potential quality of life issues, which is especially critical when every city department is severely understaffed. Please make this change in the overlay to help revive a struggling commercial corridor and better serve the needs of all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anyone else here to testify on this bill? Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? I have a statement from Council Member Mark Squilla on Bill number 230308. His statement for the record says, "I support this legislation. Several community organizations have brought several nuisance businesses to my attention, and this bill will allow for community input when such establishments begin the process of opening in the future. I request that the bill be passed out of the committee with suspension of the rules. Thank you for your consideration, and for the record, that's from my colleague, Councilman Mark Squilla. And in my brief conversation with him Friday, he also reiterated that this isn't an effort to totally just ban these establishments, but most importantly, it's about making sure the people in the neighborhood, who live in the neighborhood, the businesses that are along the corridor have a seat at the table when these establishments are being opened. And so, with that being said, any other questions or comments, members of the committee? I'm hearing none. Will the clerk please call the next bill?
The next bill we have is Bill number 230319, a bill amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising Section 14-524 entitled 4th District Overlay District to extend the boundaries of certain areas, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Just state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 230319, introduced into City Council on April 27, 2023, by Councilmember Jones Jr. Bill number 230319 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code by changing the zoning by revising Section 14-524, entitled FDO, 4th District Overlay District, to extend the boundaries of certain areas. This bill will require special exceptions for consumer goods, food, which includes food, beverages, and groceries, sundries, pharmaceuticals, and convenience sales. The proposed overlay amendment is modeled after similar areas within the 4th Council District, which the Planning Commission did not recommend for approval. The proposed use restrictions are likely to further slow business growth on City Avenue and create an additional hurdle for new businesses, large and small. The uses targeted in this bill are common and necessary for sustaining neighborhood quality of life. Requiring prospective businesses to retain an attorney and face delay and uncertainty of a special exception hearing will undoubtedly discourage the establishment of new businesses and expansion of existing businesses. It will disproportionately affect business owners with limited access to capital who have trouble affording the additional legal costs and time associated with a zoning appeal. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230319 at its meeting on May 18, 2023, and did not recommend approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Councilman Curtis, Councilman Johnson represents, recognizing Councilman Curtis Jones, author of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a total respect for the Planning Commission these days. We've walked a number of my neighborhoods to get a boots on the ground perspective, for which I truly appreciate. And I take back everything I ever said about the Planning Commission before.
Thank you.
I know you don't need a GPS to get to neighborhoods. You know where they are. So having said that, this particular piece of legislation, colleagues, has to deal with the proliferation of certain types of businesses that have become overly populated in areas in Wynnefield. And if you grew up in Wynnefield, one of the things that the civics there fought against was, alcohol, use of alcohol, and other types of tobacco products that are, paraphernalia for the use of drugs, some of which is becoming more acceptable and legal. But the neighbors in these areas, along with these establishments, have noticed a different atmosphere that is brought by them. And many of them, not all of them, have the gambling machines. Many of them, but not all of them, have numerous violations on selling things like Lucy's in the neighborhood. And this is the type of business that, if you look at, deteriorates the quality of life for people who made a major investment, some of the largest investments they will ever make in their lives, their homes. And so we want to be judicious in the spacing of where these businesses are, the number of these businesses, and we want to ultimately, and most importantly, give the community a say when it comes to these types of businesses, as opposed to by right. By right usually means right by our office, right by the civic, and we're going to build it anyway. So as we start to take a little more assertive nature on what types of businesses, and this is not just for the 4th District, this is the kind of overlay that can be used in other areas facing similar challenges. And so, although we disagree agreeably, and this is something that we are proposing for the expansion of this zone in Wynnefield. And so, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Any other questions and comments from members of the committee? Councilman Jamie Gaudier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to empathize with what Councilman Jones is sort of struggling with. I don't, at this point, I don't anticipate using the overlay, and I respect the opinion of the Planning Commission, but we are also having similar issues with a lot of these businesses, particularly the ones that are selling drug paraphernalia illegally, violating all aspects of city code. We are constantly trying to work with LNI and PPD to better regulate these businesses to no avail. We just had a murder in one of these businesses at 40th and Market a couple of months ago. And, you know, we've had several situations where nuisance businesses like these are tied to just really bad activity in the neighborhood. And so I just wanted to say that we're struggling with the same thing. And I think that as a city, particularly with help from LNI, we have to crack down on these businesses for neighborhood quality of life and for public safety.
Councilwoman Lozada.
Yes, I come from recently managing 210 businesses. And I have seen the damages that some of these businesses cause after some of our CDCs have worked really hard to build up these corridors. I've seen the negative impact that they have had on communities and how they operate with inappropriate permits or licenses. And so to me, I appreciate things like this, right, that would allow for community input. There are many communities who consistently complain about these types of businesses who immediately attract negative activity to the business corridor. These business corridors are managed by individuals who have invested their entire life savings into them. And they don't know anything else. All they know is to come into that business door, they open it, they run their business, and they go home. And so to allow for this type of business to prevent them from making an honest living is a problem. And so we need to figure out, right, how do we continue to support communities that want certain types of businesses in their communities and who don't want others? And we need to respect that because they live there. They're the ones that have to put up with the impacts of what these businesses bring into their business corridors and ultimately into their neighborhoods. And so thank you, Councilman, for this type of policy, right, that ultimately allows for community, the community to have a voice in what they see in their neighborhoods.
Any other questions and comments, members of the committee, before I acknowledge the next witness? Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
It should be. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Karen Fegley, Deputy
Fegley.
Commerce Director. Sorry. Yeah, thank you for letting me jump in next to my colleague Paula. I just wanted to add for the record, because this is an ongoing conversation I've had with many of you. I appreciate all of your comments. And not just that I've had, I mean, many city departments are engaged in this. We recognize that the Commerce Department, our job is to support businesses. So we typically wouldn't be in the interest of like enforcing, but the truth is these bad businesses are hurting our good businesses. It's hurting our business growth, it's hurting our job growth, it's hurting these corridors in our communities and the communities sort of, you know, the value of those communities and how they, the property value, but more importantly, how they see themselves. And so we desperately need to find some tools and more tools. I know council is hearing, I think next week or in coming weeks, some amendments to the nuisance business bill, which we believe will help our enforcement. I don't think that's still not going to be like the solution. I think we need multiple solutions. However, I do, agree with planning in this matter that Commerce's job is also to increase ease of doing business. And I know I've heard all of you say this too, that we need our city to be easier to do business in, particularly for local, for Philadelphians who want to start a business. And I am concerned that jumping through these hoops for a retailer that is not going to be a problem retailer, for a grocery store, for a good, positive corner store that's going to serve the community, but it's also other stores, it's other retailers that are going to fall into this bucket. We saw the damages and sort of the threat of safety when our corridors were closed during COVID and the civil unrest. And we just know that vacant corridors are really hurtful. And so that's our position. I just wanted to go on record with that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I just want to follow up with Councilman Curtis Jones and the intent of his bill. And, oftentimes there's this narrative, right? As district council members, we come up with policies, so to speak, some may say, on an individual basis as opposed to a comprehensive approach, right? But however, they aren't opening up smoke shops in Girard Estate. They aren't opening up smoke shops in Bella Vista, right? They aren't opening up smoke shops in Wynnefield Heights, right? But a lot of these businesses prey on poverty-stricken areas, right? And then so we get the calls when you got the store with the Christmas lights, right? That's open at 2 in the morning, right? And then we're reaching out trying to get support from like L&I from an enforcement standpoint. But the question comes, how did you let this open up in our neighborhood in the first place? So we definitely don't want to be on the end of hindering businesses from opening up along our business corridors. But at the same time, we do have a responsibility to answer to our constituents when you do have these nuisance businesses are opening up. And so I would say Commerce and Planning and L&I should at least be convening some type of task force, roundtable discussion, because it's our most vulnerable population, and you can't just open up smoke shops. Well, I represent parts of Center City, and there's some bad actors. I get calls about a couple businesses in Rittenhouse Square especially on the weekends, people hanging outside, sitting on people's stoops, making noise. And so I would advocate just as strongly for that area as I would for areas of Point Breeze. But when it comes to these smoke shops and selling certain type paraphernalia, a lot of them are strategically targeted for a population that's vulnerable. And so hopefully in the future, there can be some like aggressive collaboration to address this particular
Point of
issue.
information.
Councilwoman Jamie Gaudier.
There already is a nuisance business task force. It's just not enough. So I just wanted to make the point that the task force exists. It's just not enough to deal with what it is that we need, particularly in the neighborhoods that we represent. So,
Councilman Jones.
Mr. Chairman, and I respect the individuals at the witness. I've worked with those same individuals, and so we have a mutual, I guess, respect for each other. And I come from an environment professionally where I opened a lot of small businesses in the city of Philadelphia. That's where I come from. But I know in the over 100 commercial corridors are a mirror of the residents' areas, the communities they live in. So if you don't put your best foot forward, people draw a conclusion about the viability of that neighborhood. So there's a difference, and I'll stereotype, between the establishment of a Starbucks, quote, quote, and a pawn shop. Those are two different perceptions of what the investment potential is for that neighborhood. And so we have to be very careful about, safeguarding our commercial corridors so that it stimulates investment. I remember dropping my daughter off at Howard University back in the day. And the person taking us around said, wherever you see these type of stores, don't move there. And wherever you see people with bar locks and graffiti, don't move there. That's not a safe neighborhood. And sometimes, unfairly or fairly, that sends that signal. And, you know, you kind of know when you have a reflection in a mirror that is not complimentary to the neighborhood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, and Karen, I hear you loud and clear. We want to grow businesses, not hinder them, and we're trying to figure out what's that balance as well, all right?
Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? I'm hearing none. Will the clerk please call the next bill?
The next item we have is Bill number 230318. Bill number 230318 is a bill to amend Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising certain provisions of Chapter 14-500 entitled Overlay Zoning Districts by creating the East Poplar Overlay District, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much.
First, we have Paula Brumlow Burns, followed by Rachel Pritzker.
Paula, just state your name for the record and please begin your testimony.
I am Paula Brumlow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 230318, introduced into City Council on April 27, 2023, by Councilmember Jones Jr. for Council President Clark. Bill number 230318 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code by creating a new section entitled EOD, East Poplar Overlay District. This bill will create a new overlay bounded by 6th Street, Spring Garden Street, 9th Street, and Girard Avenue. The overlay will apply to all residentially zoned lots in the bounding area. The first restriction is to prohibit roof decks on all residential structures zoned RSA 5, RM1, and RM2 residential attached districts. The second restriction will establish the maximum height limit to equal the tallest building on any abutting lot. If no building is greater than 38 feet, the maximum height shall be as indicated in the code. Any building 25 feet or less in height shall contain no more than 2 stories. The Planning Commission staff believes that the height restrictions of this overlay could be accomplished with a base zoning district change to RSA 6, residential single attached, which has a height maximum of 25 feet with some exceptions. This area has few, if any, vacant lots. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230318 at its meeting on May 18, 2023, and recommended that the bill not be approved. I will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions or comments from members of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I want to echo my inner President Clark, but I won't. But we appreciate your evaluations, but the good counterbalance to that is that we actually know our districts fairly well, and therefore support the evaluation of the district council person. So that's my inner Darrell Clark.
Thank you very much. Will the clerk please call the next witness on this bill? Rachel, welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. For those who do not know me, my name is Rachel Pritzker. I'm the owner of Pritzker Law Group, which is the only certified women-owned real estate law firm in the city. We're also certified as a women-owned small business as well. In addition, I'm the youngest female member of the Building Industry Association on their board of directors, of which I'm here to testify on its behalf. Today, I'm testifying on Bill 230318 related to another new overlay proposed in our city. While it may be against my personal interest to testify against this bill, as these bills make real estate attorneys more relevant, what I'm hoping to do is provide a little perspective related to overlays and the challenges they present. Being a small firm with more pricing flexibility, we represent a lot of small investors, homeowners, and many minority individuals and women. These groups, on a good day, for a buy-right project with no overlays or different units of measurement for lot size, height and unit count, et cetera, are already disadvantaged related to their ability to raise and secure capital, obtain top legal, design, and construction professionals, and who with one wrong project may spend years digging themselves out of insurmountable debt that they have to personally guarantee with their homes and/or other assets. Now, to add that to that equation, the ever-changing zoning and building code, including complicated overlays that are inconsistent across invisible boundaries, can be unclear and are ill-advised urban planning tools as they lack transparency, consistency, and require additional legal and design support to successfully navigate. With the city as important as Philadelphia, given the challenges we face related to lack of minority and women entrepreneurship, housing, and investment, we should be putting in place best practices citywide. There are better options that exist than these overlays to solve these types of issues, given that no doubt these districts are actually not unique and these issues are actually not unique to just one district and span many districts and many different neighborhoods. While this may require a little bit more time, work, organization, and collaboration, which this body is more than capable, I would also offer that our entire industry would also gladly pull up our sleeves and help you do the work. Overlays and inconsistent zoning that require even more work to navigate reduce property values overnight for those living in these districts, and is against best practices, make it even harder for the smaller guys to compete and succeed. I believe we want a city where we make it easier to succeed, especially for those with a less easy path forward, not harder. These overlays do not help, and as such, cannot be supported by the BIA or honestly anyone who deals with these in actual practice. Our city deserves smart urban planning with strategies that are consistent, transparent, and not detrimental to property, homeowners, investment, and growth, and upward mobility. We'd ask that you do better, and we're here to help. Thank you.
Any questions or comments of members of the committee? I just want to say thank you for your testimony, and I respect the comments and concerns from the BIA, and likewise, I would challenge the BIA and their leadership to join us out in our community when we're having committee meetings around the developments that's taking place all throughout our districts, and collaborate with us on how do we balance the level of development and gentrification that's impacting our communities as well. And they're my friends, so I'm willing to do that, Rachel.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments of members of the committee? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the next panel and the next bill?
Next, we have Valerie Williams and Cora Turbin.
Good morning. How you doing today?
All right. My name is Valerie Williams. I am Judge of Elections, and I live in the community of East Poplar. Okay, thank you. And we asked for this overlay because of the fact that having buildings that are with the roof decks and things like that, roof deck is nice for some people, it's not nice for everybody. We feel as though the overlays would help to keep the continuity of our community, not having darkness where we need to have light for people to live. The accessibility of being able to do the things that are noted in this overlay. And it's adjacent to the overlays that are surrounding our community as well. Understanding that real estate wants to do what they want to do. Right now, the developers are in our area hard. So this overlay would help our community to stay as it is and keep the continuity for the folks that are living there. The things that I heard just a few minutes ago, it does not help us. It does not help the continuity of our community. It does not help in keeping light and different things that we should have to live as we do. And the homeowners, there were, such as the maximum height, the buildings 25 feet or less in height, the roof decks, and the roof decks having that shall be prohibited. We agree with that. We agree with everything that Councilman Clark helped us in doing to get this overlay.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Ma'am, when you have testimony, just state your name for the record and please begin.
I'm Dr. Cora Turpin. I live in the area East Poplar, Northern Liberties. I have seen the changes that are coming about, and I can't say they're all good. I want to say that I do appreciate your efforts to help us maintain a livable community. We have seen our green spaces disappearing. We have seen huge buildings built on lots that were once lawns. We have seen our parking become horrendous. Not only do we need this bill that you are proposing, but we need your help to help us to maintain our standard of living in other areas also. And I appreciate anybody who can give me suggestions, because you're the experts on city government and how to get things done. We're also concerned about the removal of grassy areas and yards. Our cost for electricity is going to be astronomical if they keep paving it in. We're also concerned about the dog feces residue. Seems everybody has a dog where there is a grassy area, there the dog is. We are also concerned about the maintenance of the trees and the yards that City Council has said the residents don't own. What we maintained them for like 25 years. But now the trees aren't being pruned and the grass is not being cut. We are concerned about having cameras to improve the safety of the area, because we're getting many more hundreds of people in the areas where we live. And we do need other kinds of protection. We've realized the police can't do it all. Sometimes electronics will help to improve the safety. And we also are concerned about the maintenance of rental properties. We have these people who are buying these properties and renting them out. There's nothing to say what standard they should maintain. Here comes the trash, because renters feel no obligation to maintain cleanliness. The dog feces is thrown on the porches or thrown in the yards. And then those of us who are the permanent residents and homeowners have to get out there and clean up after them. There are a lot of issues that are concerned with this development. But one of the issues that I was hearing from the other testimony that does not exist is that our houses are losing value. They are being revalued to the point that many of the residents can't afford the taxes that go along with the exorbitant prices that they now are going to cost. So, as I said, we're in an area where old folks like me, we're getting desperate. We're trying to hold on to our homes. There are so many things happening to keep us from having our homes. I appreciate this bill. At least it is going to try to maintain the standard of life that we bought into many years ago. Like I bought in 1977. And if there are other things you can do, all of us would be greatly appreciative. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Curtis Jones, then Councilman Jamie Gaudier.
Could I ask, could you tell us when you bought your home, what year?
1977. Well, it was about 5 years after the city of Philadelphia was offering homes. You pay $5, stay there 5 years, and you could see. So I have been here that long. I was here before then. I was in Yorktown, which was built way before Northern.
Which is famous now, yes.
Yes, but we were the ones who came in, and we settled the area. It is beautiful. Not everybody wants to be there, but they're pushing those of us who maintained it, they're pushing us out. Now, I have been retired about 30 years, so you can imagine my buying power has been reduced greatly. And this house that I bought for, and mine was expensive because some people bought them for $7,000. Mine was a whole $24,000. Now it is $450,000. If I could have afforded that house, I'd have bought it.
And I have to say that my parents bought into the community. We were the first set.
When did you move?
Back in the 60s, in the late 60s. And initially, they were redlined. Initially, they were redlined until a friend helped them, and they were able to buy the home. So to want to do things out of the continuity of the way that they've been used to living, or we're used to living, it's just not right. And we don't want to see that happen. So this bill of the overlays would help us.
So
We should
Mr.
do that.
Vernon Marks ran that dollar program that you're talking about, gifting properties to residents, and if you fix them up within 5 years, you were able, I wish we could bring that
Well-
program back.
These houses weren't like that. These were not, the first set that was there, Hoffman Place, was not where you buy at $5 and you stay and all that.
Okay.
No, they weren't like that. They were purchased, and as I said, my parents were redlined initially until they were able to get some help.
Would you share what the initial acquisition, how much did it cost to get it?
That I'm not exactly sure of, because I just don't have that information with me. But I know that, or I believe that it was,
Well, give her
I'm
some
gonna
help.
give a guess, maybe.
Mine was in 77. Mine was 24,000. Hers had to be a lot less. Mine was a purchase of a new home from PHA, some program they had at that time.
So,
And ours was a new home as
Yeah,
well.
It was the old homes that they were offering. Go
So-
live there 5 years, you know.
Yeah, but we didn't have that.
No, we bought the new homes.
so we encourage new homeowners to come in, but we want them to fit in within the confines of existing people who saw it during the bad times. They struggled through those
Yes.
tough times and should be respected in these times. So thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Councilman Jamie Gaudier.
I wanted to thank you for your testimony, and I wanted to provide some responses to Dr. Cora's testimony in particular. I agree with you that there are many things that you listed that the city needs to do better on. Some of these things we're already working on. So for instance, through the leadership of Council President Clark, we have the Neighborhood Preservation Initiative, which has put millions of dollars into basic systems repair to give homeowners free resources to fix up their homes. And so we need to keep, funding that program. We also expanded property tax relief through the leadership of Councilmember Johnson. I realize these are things that we have to do much more on because homeowners need a lot of relief. I also think there are things that we can do better on that might provide a better quality of life for our residents around some of the issues that you talked about. One, in many districts, including mine, we have a large amount of publicly owned vacant land. I think though we need more housing, affordable housing in particular, some of that land should stay as green space, right? We have a need for green space within our communities, and everything doesn't have to be built up. So I think we should prioritize green space and urban gardens and urban farms to provide, healthy opportunities for our residents. Additionally, I would like to see, and I'm pushing for the city to do better on maintenance of its own publicly owned land. And some of my neighborhoods, the land that the city owns is in the worst, the worst condition and drawing really negative uses for the community. I also like to see us do more on trees and sidewalks and to help residents take care of things that they don't have the financial wherewithal to take care of themselves. So we're pushing on some of these areas, but we need to push some more on others. And I really appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
We appreciate your help.
Yes.
I would like to say one thing about the grants that you're saying that are being offered. Whenever you put a program in for grants, please be aware of the cost of living in a neighborhood. Now, I have been retired for over 30 years.
You got that. Got that.
I do not qualify for one of your grants.
Okay.
I'm amazed. I mean, as old as I am, as long as I have not been employed, but the level is too low. I'm living in Northern Liberties. The houses are being sold for over $1 million, and I'm just trying to hang on.
Noted. Thank you for that perspective.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
so,
for listening to
as
us.
we wrap up,
Yes.
there's a couple tax relief measures that Councilman Jamie Garrett are referring to that does benefit not individuals such as yourself, but also people who live inside your neighborhood who may be experiencing the same thing.
Yes.
One is looking at expanding criteria for the senior citizens tax freeze, because if you're a senior, your taxes can be frozen. But however, the price criteria, right?
It's too low.
Right, it's too low, and so we're working on the state level to get that criteria expanded to allow more individuals. And we learned this as a result of AVI, with this, which is the actual value initiative that kind of had an impact on everyone. And so I'm taking that in consideration. And then the long-term occupants, the long-term owners occupants program, which is LOOP,
Yes.
right? And that criteria is a little bit larger than the senior citizens tax freeze that allow more individuals to take advantage of it, but also looking at expanding it to also family members. And so when the nephew or the son or the daughter takes over the home, right, in the event that their parents move on, right, they can also benefit from the long-term owners occupants program, because they also will be in a situation where they will have to pay their taxes immediately once they inherit the property, and that's not fair at all. So we are looking at some other different ways to expand the level of eligibility for individuals to have the opportunity to participate in, so they won't be priced out of their neighborhood.
And
Thank you.
we appreciate it so very much.
Yes.
And may I suggest one thing? I know the state is holding, I've been talking to Councilman Clark for years. I was testifying before the pandemic. What about subsidizing some of these folks so they can hold on while you're going through the process? The processes take years. But meanwhile, we're getting old and we're still trying to hang on.
Understood. Okay. I also want to just leave on one note. You did talk about the value of the homes, right? So I'm sure y'all have some good equity that you can pull out at some point in time. That's just something. It's kind of two-edged sword, because with the development that's taking place and the values going up is a good thing. However, how you're addressing the taxes, because the taxes are a whole different conversation that actually prices individuals out. And you shouldn't have to pull your equity to pay your bills. That shouldn't be a part of the process.
But now what better neighborhood is there to live in than where we are in Philadelphia?
I know that's right.
I intend to be here.
Yes. Fourth district. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
All right. Will the clerk please call up the next bill?
Next bill we have is 230302. Bill number 230302 is a bill to approve a major amendment to the St. Joseph's University Master Plan related to a proposed residence hall and student center, and the addition of 6 existing buildings to the master plan, and to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land, all in the area bounded by City Avenue, 52nd Street, Woodbine Avenue, Wynnefield Avenue, Overbrook Avenue, Upland Way, and Drexel Road.
Thank you. Just please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 230302, introduced into City Council on April 20th, 2023 by Councilmember Jones Jr. Bill number 230302 allows for approval of a major amendment to the St. Joseph's University Master Plan and amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations in an area bounded by City Avenue, 52nd Street, Woodbine Avenue, Wynnefield Avenue, Overbrook Avenue, Upland Way, and Drexel Road. This bill will bring 6 existing buildings into the master plan and map them SPINS, Special Purpose Institutional District. The plan will allow for the demolition of existing structures and the construction of a new residence hall, student center, and addition to the existing science building. The net increase in gross floor area is 653,537 square feet and an occupied area of 185,782 square feet. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230302 at its meeting on May 18, 2023, and requested an additional 45-day review so the project can complete the required civic design review process before the Planning Commission can vote. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the next panel to testify on this bill?
Next to testify, we have Waddell Ridley. Also available for questions, Joseph Kinder and Matthew McClure.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Just state your name and title for the record and then begin your testimony.
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Councilman Jones,
Good morning.
and other members of the committee. My name is Waddell Ridley, Jr. I'm Assistant Vice President for Government and Community Relations at St. Joseph's University. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to testify today. We'd also like to thank Councilman Jones for his sponsorship of Bill number 230302 and his ongoing support of St. Joseph's University. I'd like to ask, instead of reading the testimony, because I have submitted the testimony in writing, if there are questions, I would be available and members of my team would be available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. The author of the bill, Councilman Curtis Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for coming up. I think, Mr. McClure, you might want to come up to the... I just want to put some things on the record so that my colleagues and those listening can kind of understand what we're doing here today. We're talking about the replacement of a 1960s dorm. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We are on the footprint that exists currently for that dorm and activity center.
That's the, I think you're
Is
looking
that
at
the Owl's Nest?
the student center
Yes.
at some point, you know, in this transition.
And that this is a modernization of that dormitory so that as we attract students post-pandemic, as we attract people to struggling universities, and that might sound like a oxymoron for many, but if you follow this, a lot of universities are merging, a lot of them are trying to remain competitive, and they're competing after a student body that is real comfortable staying at home. And if you don't create those amenities on those campuses for them, they will choose other universities. And maybe I said it, but would you concur that's one of your reasons for doing this?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the other item to consider is that with those buildings that are being replaced, the two dorms that will eventually be replaced, we are actually moving the newer dorm closer to City Avenue, away from the community itself. So that's actually going to be a better situation. We're trying to localize our activities in the center of the campus and pull away from the edges of the campus. So to have more opportunities for residents as well to enjoy their peace.
Which is always a good thing. Don't you live right near the proposed development, if I recall? So you want that kind of domestic tranquility to be in the neighborhood, but yet accommodate students. And what I would also say is that a lot of town and gown issues happen in communities where you don't have dormitory space for young people to live in. And it kind of causes a conflict when they convert housing, residential housing, into rental housing for students. Not that I haven't enjoyed a good keg party on my block back in the day, but the better to have that kind of activity on a campus so that security and others can control those festivals. We were all young once, but as we get older, we want that quiet community that we paid for. So this is that kind of modernization and footprint. Mr. McClure, I want you to comment on this as well, because you walked up in that area with us to talk about some of the future of the university. Can you, for the record, state your name and give us some of that?
Sure. Thank you so much, Councilmember. Matthew McClure, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, McClure, M-C-C-L-U-R-E, with the law firm of Ballard Spahr, and resident of the 4th Councilmanic District, and a good constituent of Councilman Jones. You're absolutely right. This is about replacement housing for an existing dormitory. There's 2 dormitories that are pretty close to residents behind Gompers. They're going to be eventually demolished. Obviously, the new replacement dorm has to be built first. This is just the master plan amendment. Later on, there will be there will be an application for zoning and then more CDR on the specifics. Additionally, when it comes to the student center is going to be demolished, and then there's going to be a larger green space that's opened up in the middle of the campus, which is to benefit, obviously, the students as well as the community. And there will be an addition to the science center. So the net square footage is actually not that dramatic because there's so much being demolished.
Isn't there a upgrade of the zoning to modernize it? When this university was established, it was farmland, literally, and we have to catch up to make it educational institutional zoning. Is that right?
That is correct. There are 2 parcels, Ashford Hall is, as well as Moore Hall, that are in Overbrook Farms. The rest of the properties that we are dealing with right now are in Wynnefield Resident Association area. Those 2 parcels have dormitory and academic uses that have been there for decades. The use is being changed to the Spins District. However, the Spins District is not being modified in any way that allows for new construction. So that way, before anything could ever get built, we have to come back to Your Honor, have a conversation with Your Honor about amendments to the master plan, work with the Planning Commission, and that would be a public process of itself, but nothing like that is anticipated. So this is about conforming the zoning to what is there already and not permitting any more.
And some of my more prominent residents, right near there, the Williams family, we got to make sure that they're okay.
They're fine.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
That's it.
But thank you, Councilmember.
I just had a brief, small question. So if you're tearing down how many dorms?
There are 2 dormitories that are going to come down.
You're putting up 6. So is there EOP as a part of this process, like diversity and inclusion around the development of the actual site?
There's an EOP. Yeah, there's an EOP that has been submitted and signed by the university as well. So all of the construction activity here is subject to the EOP.
And what's the percentage, if you don't mind me asking? I'm just not bad. Just general question.
Sure.
We're the #1 big city when it comes to poverty, and so when we see all this development coming online, we just want to make sure that it's inclusive.
The percentage so OEO did something different this time that they typically don't do. Instead of separating out professional services from construction services, they combined them. So the contractual went lower when it comes to construction, but the professional went higher when you do that. But that's, I guess, the OEO's new procedure. But for MBE, WBE ranges, that's 17 to 20%. For WBE ranges, it's 10 to 15%. And then all the other numbers are, when it comes for the workforce diversity goals, are consistent with the city's requirements for journeymen and apprentices.
And professional services, that will include architects, lawyers, who gets the cleaning contract, who does. Asking.
It covers everyone. I mean, the biggest thing in professional services is all the engineering firms that work on a project. MEP, cool. Like plumbing, electric. That is a lot of engineering services for this. So this entire project, it's estimated that there's going to be $3 million versus of professional service contracts, cool. Which is quite a lot. And the thing that's actually, as you know, is so important that is a lot of those jobs are much higher paying jobs, so it's so important for those jobs to be diverse as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Just a general question. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments, members of the committee? Councilman Jones?
Mr. Chairman, what's the total project cost for the projected
The total,
Reconstruction.
Councilmember Jones, the total project cost for all three construction projects, and that will be over a period of, it could be up to 10 years, but it's about $100 million.
We do stuff in 4th District.
Absolutely. Good job, good job. And I asked those questions. Again, we're number one big city when it comes to poverty, right? And if we're ever gonna get to the bottom of it, we gotta make sure we're diverse and inclusive when major projects like this come online. And so I'm sure that the councilman is always on top of it. I just wanted to ask those questions just in general. All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions and comments, members of the committee? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the next bill?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Bill number 230322. Bill number 230322 is a bill amending Chapter 14-500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts to modify the area subject to Section 14-534 entitled the Affordable Housing Preservation Overlay District, all under certain terms and conditions.
Will the witness please state your name for the record and begin your testimony?
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 230322, introduced into City Council on April 27th, 2023 by Councilmember Gautier. Bill number 230322 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code by amending Chapter 14-500 entitled Overlay Zoning Districts by modifying the applicable area subject to Section 14-534 entitled the AHP Affordable Housing Preservation Overlay District. This bill addresses a court settlement between the city and the property owner that will remove 3900 Market Street UC Townhomes from the boundaries of the AHP Affordable Housing Preservation Overlay District. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230322 at its meeting on May 18th, 2022, and recommended the bill for approval. I will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments, members of the committee? Councilman Johnson acknowledges Councilman Jamie Gautier, author of the bill.
No real comments, just requesting favor from my colleagues. This bill and the next are crucial to the recent settlement regarding the townhomes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the next witness to this panel? Well, not the next bill.
Next, we have Bill number 230323. Bill number 230323 is a bill amending Section 14-533 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Mixed Income Neighborhoods Overlay District to create a mechanism for satisfying certain use standards related to the construction of affordable housing in the portion of the Min Overlay District located in the 3rd Councilmanic District, all under certain terms and conditions.
State your name for the record and please begin your testimony.
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 230323, introduced into City Council on April 27th, 2023 by Councilmember Gautier. Bill number 230323 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code by amending Section 14-533 MIN Mixed Income Neighborhoods Overlay District. This bill will create a mechanism for satisfying use standards related to the construction of affordable housing in the MIN Overlay District that are located in the 3rd Councilmanic District. This will apply to lots that have been subdivided and transferred to the City of Philadelphia with the intent to build affordable dwelling units. This bill continues to support the Min Overlay by creating an additional mechanism for satisfying the requirements of providing affordable units or contributing to the Housing Trust Fund. If land is donated to the city and accepted for creating affordable housing, then the applicant would automatically be entitled to this waiver. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 230323 at its meeting on May 18, 2023, and recommended the bill for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay, hearing none, just want to acknowledge Councilman Jamie Gautier for your hard work and dedication and partnership with the community around this particular bill. At that being said, I'm going to ask the clerk, are there any other witnesses for this particular bill?
There are no other witnesses.
Hearing none, this concludes the public hearing. We will now go into a public meeting shortly to consider the action to be taken on the bills before this committee today.
Okay, so the only update for y'all is that 230302 needs a motion for amendment because it needs to be amended to include the EOP. So I just scratched off, so instead of the 302, it just moves it regular. You need to amend it to include the EOP. Does that make sense?
Which one?
230302. Keep going. I believe it's another one. Keep going. This one. Sorry.
Be amended?
Yep, it needs to just be amended. So how you do the other ones? Just make the amendment 302.
Got it.
Thank you, everyone. We will now go into our public meeting shortly to consider action to be taken on the bills before this committee today. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230276.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 230276 be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Can I get a second?
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilman Jamie Gardier seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230276 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on the amendment to bill number 230318.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I move a motion for bill number 230318. A copy of that amendment has been sent to all members of City Council, and I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 230318 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230318 as amended.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 230318A as amended be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230318 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230308.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to bill number 230308. A copy of that amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for the adoption of that amendment.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilman Jamie Gardier seconds the motion, and has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230308 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Jones for a motion on the amendment to bill number 230319.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I move that bill number 230308 as amended be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Second.
All those in favor by the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passed. Excuse me. Clarify it,
Yeah.
So that's the next one.
Just to clarify
just
for the
told us
record,
again.
the three items being amended today are 230302, 230318, and 230319. 230308 does not need an amendment.
Duly noted.
The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for motion on bill number 230308.
I move that bill number give me that number again. 230308 be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Second.
Here we
The
go.
chair notes for the record that Councilmember Jamie Gaudier seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230308 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carried. The chair, Curtis Jones, for a motion on the amendment to bill number 230319.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to bill number 230319. This amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
The amendment to bill, it has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 230319 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on the bill number 230319 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 230319 as amended be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230319 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230302.
Okay. This one needs to be amended. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to amend 230302. A copy of that amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and further move that the rules of council be suspended. No. I move for the adoption of the amendment to bill number 230302.
That second, it has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 230302 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230302 as amended.
Here we go. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 230302 as amended be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading at our next session of council.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230302 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for bill number 230323.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 230322 be moved from this committee. 230322. Yeah. And then we'll go to this. Okay.
Let me rewind.
There we go.
The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230322.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 230322 be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Ketchy Lozado seconds the motion. There has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230322 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation and further moved that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Curtis Jones for a motion on bill number 230323.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I move that bill number 230323 be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation. Further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Ketchy Lozado seconds the motion. Has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 230323 be reported from this committee with the favorable recommendation and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carried. This concludes the business of the Committee on the Rules for today. I want to thank everybody for their attendance. I want to give a special shout out to Councilman Ketchy Lozado and Councilman Jamie Gardier for being special appointees for this committee today and making sure that we have a quorum. So thank you all for your service. We appreciate it. And thank you, Councilman Jones, for your attendance.
Good job too, Mr. Chairman. This is our first in-person hearing since the pandemic. So thank you for your chairmanship.
You're welcome, sir.